Okay, well, I know I'm a few days behind, but I'm trying to catch up here. I have been blogging a whole bunch of stuff here. It's a little bit faster and easier than making these videos, and I haven't had that much time. But I want to talk about the firing of the Cavaliers coach, David Blatt, and how it ties into a lot of the things I've been talking about. Lots of stuff foreshadowing earthquake and whatnot. So, anyway, just wanted to take a look at it here. So, we got David Blatt, who was fired on January 22nd, 1:22. I mean, look at the time on this video, 2:39. It's a number that we've just been seeing over and over and over. You know, we're in the 239th year of the United States. The 122nd day is also May 2nd, which is 5-2. The 52nd prime number is 239. You had Princess Charlotte, who was born on this day. You know, Michael Jordan owns the Charlotte Hornets. Uh, he is 52 years old this year. There's just lots of stuff I've been covering that connects to that. But let's move on here. First off, he's 56 years old. Tons of 56 and all kinds of stories I've noticed around the Paris attacks. Paris, France equals 56. ISIS equals 56. Ronda Rousey lost. Ronda Rousey equals 56. But he was also born on 5/22. So he was fired on 1/22, which is exactly 122 days before his 57th birthday, if you include the end date. So fired on 1/22, 122 days before his birthday. So David Blatt also coached the Cavaliers against the Warriors in the NBA Finals last year. And it was the finals that I said the Warriors were going to win. I did originally think that it was going to be the Warriors and the Bulls, but I said the Warriors were going to win. And it was connected to Valentine's Day and the Space Jam dunk of Zach LaVine, the Teen Wolf, in the Slam Dunk contest. So Golden State became the champions on June 16th, 122 days after Valentine's Day. Golden State even adds up to 122. You know, they play in the San Francisco Bay Area. San Francisco equals 122. Steve Kerr also has been out all season this season. And Luke Walton has been the coach. Steve Kerr also came back on 122. I mean, the same day that Blatt was fired, Steve Kerr comes back. I mean, that seems kind of strange, doesn't it? Also, this same day, the Warriors beat the Pacers 122 to 110. I mean, give me a break. And it also made their record 40-4, like a 404. And the reason I even mentioned that, you know, is in numerology you take out the 0, which could be a 44. That all ties into Obama, the 44th president. But also 404, there's 404 verses in Revelation. The King James Bible was published 404 years ago, until 5/2 of this year. So interesting, another 52. Pope Francis also came to the United States at 4:04 p.m. Just the word Kerr adds up to 52. Pope Francis adds up to 122. Steve Kerr is also connected to Space Jam because he played on Michael Jordan's winning Chicago Bulls. I mean, think about what they're doing this year with Golden State. They're letting them try and break the Chicago Bulls' 72 win record, right? It's all about that. And I'm starting to wonder if they really are going to break it. I originally didn't think they would. But, I mean, it's really seeming like they're going to. But the Bulls had 72-10 in the 95-96 season, which was Steve Kerr's first championship with the Chicago Bulls. And then he was even traded to the Spurs after the third championship, and he won his fourth championship in a row with the Spurs. Then he was also traded, and he came back to the Spurs for his final season. And his final season in the NBA, which was 4 years later, the Spurs won again, so he got his fifth championship ring. So, I mean, literally, he won 4 in a row, and then 4 years later, he won his other one, the 44. Also, think about the Spurs this year. I guess this has changed now. They're only 2 wins behind the Warriors right now, but the Warriors just beat them the other night, which I need to take a look at it. I haven't watched the game yet even. I have it DVR'd. Interesting, though, the Warriors beat them by 30. Steph Curry's number is 30. I don't know. I really did not even look at the box score or anything, but just interesting. You know, the Spurs were right behind them. The Warriors are having this awesome season. Steve Kerr played for the Chicago Bulls and the Spurs, and now he coaches the Warriors, who are chasing the Bulls record, but the Spurs are also somewhat chasing the Bulls record as well. I mean, come on, it's so obvious to me. I cannot believe that other people do not see it. But as I'm sitting here, now that I'm thinking about it, also, I wrote in here, Space Jam even came out on 11/15 of 1996. And earlier in 1996, Steve Kerr won his first title with the Chicago Bulls. Steve Kerr was 30 years old when he won his first title. So maybe that's why, maybe that has something to do with why they won by 30 the other night. Also, his 31st birthday is even 49 days before Space Jam came out. Chicago Bulls equals 49. Last year, Kerr was 49 years old when Golden State won. They play in the San Francisco Bay. San Francisco, the 49ers, the gold mining, whatever, And it was the same year as Super Bowl 49. I've also noticed the number 31 and how it's been connected to winning a lot lately, especially with the NFL playoffs. So I looked back at my notes, and I wondered if there was 31 stuff dealing with the Warriors when they won the NBA Finals last year and whatnot. Interesting, Steve Kerr is only one of two people to win 4 straight NBA titles without being part of the 1960 Boston Celtics. The other guy is Frank Saul, and Frank Saul in Gematria adds up to 31. The Warriors play in Oakland. Oakland equals 31. And remember last year, the Warriors were doing bad in the finals, and then number 9 Iguodala came in and started guarding number 23 LeBron. There was lots of 923 references in regards to Pope Francis. He came to the White House, or America, on his 923rd day as Pope, went to the White House at 9:23 a.m. on 9/23. Lots of stuff dealing with this, but even the train wreck in Philadelphia was at 9:23 p.m., the one on May 12th last year. LeBron was in the movie Trainwreck that starts out when Amy Schumer is 9 years old. The rest of the movie takes place 23 years later. Trainwreck even adds up to 122. The last year, Andre Iguodala was 31 years old, and he came in on Game 4, stopping the Warriors from falling to 3-1 in the finals. Also, I pointed out here, in the movie Pixels with Adam Sandler, it has Pac-Man eating the Golden Gate Bridge / San Francisco on the cover, yet in the movie, they never once go to San Francisco. I mean, how does that make any sense whatsoever? The cover shows Pac-Man eating San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge, yet they never once go to San Francisco in this movie. So, if Pixels in Gematria is 85 and 31. 85 is just the number that's surrounded with earthquake stuff. Also, Steve Kerr's dad last year. Steve Kerr's dad was born in 1931, but he was murdered on January 18th, 1984. So last year, 1984, was 31 years ago when the Warriors won. So his dad was born in 31, murdered 31 years before the Warriors won. And look on here on ESPN, they talk about David Blatt being fired because of the 34-point loss they had to the Golden State Warriors, or that was like pretty much what stemmed up to it. But literally, this game where the Warriors blew them out was on January 18th, right? The same as the anniversary of Steve Kerr's dad's death in 1984. Also, I just threw this in here. You had WrestleMania 31 that was in San Francisco last year. There was a lot of stuff on that. I think I made like an hour-long video talking about a lot of things dealing with that. Ronda Rousey was even in WrestleMania 31. But also notice David Blatt was fired after a record of 30-11 this year. So it was just shy of his 31st win. 31 is the 11th prime number. So, I mean, interesting. He had 11 losses, 31, and he would have got his, 31st win. I don't know. It just seems kind of interesting. Also, LeBron James just turned 31 on December 30th of 2015, which I never even noticed this until right now either. January 22nd is 23 days later. LeBron, number 23. I mean, he was a big part in that. Him and David Blatt didn't get along, supposedly. That's part of their WWE fake story. Kerr also won his second NBA title at the age of 31 with the Bulls. So maybe foreshadowing a possible rematch or a second title for the Warriors. But I'm not quite sure because, his first one was at age 30, just like Blatt's record. Also, LeBron is now 31 years old, so I guess we'll see how it pans out or whatever. But just interesting to point out. So anyway, in regards to Earthquake and the David Blatt firing, so he was fired 122 days before his birthday on 5/22. I just made a post about this number or this date, 5/22, because of the death of the Ben Carson staffer, Braden Joplin, that was in southwest Iowa. Joplin, Missouri, the tornado happened on 5/22, exactly 19 years after Johnny Carson's last episode of The Tonight Show that was on 5/22. Also, Space Jam came out 19 years ago. And the reason that it all fits in is because Johnny Carson was born in southwest Iowa, and this guy died in Atlantic, Iowa, which is in southwest Iowa. Johnny Carson even lived like just miles away, in his childhood. But also 5/22 is the 143rd day of the year in 2016. Also 223 left. The word Masonic is 223. The Synagogue of Satan. Friday the 13th, equals 223, just like the day the Paris attacks happened. The worst earthquake on record, on East Coast earthquake on record, happened in Charleston on 8/31 of 1886. If you add up the date numerology, it adds up to 143. I talked about Apollo Creed and Rocky, who died on 8/31 of 1985. Rocky, even, just think about it, Rocky seems pretty fitting for earthquake. But the day that Apollo Creed died adds up to 143. And I talk about this because of the death of Grizzly Adams and the scene in Happy Gilmore when they say Grizzly Adams did have a beard. And that's when Chubbs died. And the same guy who played Apollo Creed played Chubbs. His name is Carl Weathers. But also, Happy learns how to putt on the putt-putt course called Earthquake. Earthquake adds up to 107. He learns how to putt in the movie. It's 1 hour and 7 minutes into the film. And there's a building that falls that looks like the Comcast Center in Philadelphia, where Rocky takes place. If you can go back and read my other post, but, it really fits into everything I've been talking about. Philadelphia also connected to the Warriors because they used to play in Philadelphia. But, look at this. David Blatt even fired after coaching 143 games with the Cavs. 20 in the playoffs, 123 regular season. Give me a break. He was also replaced by Tyronn Lue, who, interesting. I made a whole series on Allen Iverson being surrounded by the number 56, clear back to when he was a kid even. Just the number 56 is all over everything about him. But Tyronn Lue is well known for Iverson stepping over him in the game when Lue played for the Lakers in the 2001 NBA Finals. It was Game 1. But the 76ers won that game 107-101 in overtime. Earthquake equals 107. Philadelphia equals 101. I also want to point out Kobe Bryant scored his 81 points in the game on 122. The same day that David Blatt got fired. The Lakers also scored 122 points that game. Kobe's from Philadelphia, tore his Achilles versus the Warriors. I've also mentioned a lot about the movie Tommy Boy and Jerry Sandusky, Ohio, Herbie Husker, whatever. But Joe Paterno died on 122 as well. Just think about it. Tyronn Lue, of course, is a former Nebraska Cornhusker. I've talked about this, tying into tons of things with Teen Wolf and whatnot with Michael J. Fox. And one thing I never noticed before until now, in regards to Levi's Stadium and the Super Bowl, I talked about how this made Nebraska 6-7 and whatnot. Nebraska Cornhuskers, they won the Foster Farms Bowl that was played in Levi's Stadium this year. And I'm not going to re-explain it. It just takes too long. Just watch some of my previous videos in regards to Nebraska and the Nebraska Cornhuskers and Herbie and the death of Dean Jones and whatnot. It's so ridiculous. It all ties into Teen Wolf and whatnot. But also, I'm just going to leave these up. You can read some of these Allen Iverson 56s. And I can only make 15-minute videos. So leaving it at that. Have a great night.